Good morning. I'm Jayne Truran and I run the school library at Queenswood School in Leafy, Hertfordshire. Like everyone, I'm missing my library, I'm missing the students, and I'm missing the books. My library is very distinctive. It's an old swimming pool turned into a library, so it's got lots of fascinating architectural features. So I'm really missing seeing those and walking in every morning. So hopefully it won't be too long before we're back. I've been a school librarian for more years than I care to remember, but I still love my job after all those years. The book I've chosen to talk about is Looking for JJ by Anne Cassidy. Anne Cassidy is a crime writer, thrillers. Lots of her stories come from newspaper articles and newspaper stories that she's picked up on, and she just weaves her magic around those particular subject matters rather than stories. Looking for JJ is a book for young adults. It was groundbreaking when it was published in 2004 by Scholastic Books. Not for the faint-hearted, I might say, and I would say probably for Year 9 students, maybe top-end Year 8. It depends on your reading capacity and your understanding of the world, I guess, but it is a really, really tough read at times. The story is divided into four parts in the book. It starts off with introducing us to Alice, who is, it's her 17th birthday. She's living with Rosie, working in a coffee shop, waiting to go to university in Brighton. So she's got everything to look forward to, or so it seems. She's a boyfriend called Frankie, all very straightforward. But what is it with her obsession with newspaper articles about a murdered child, murdered by a 10-year-old girl called JJ? We soon learn that Alice is in fact JJ. Released early from a rehabilitation centre, JJ, now Alice, has been given a new identity and a new life and lives with Rosie, a social worker. Media attention has been diverted by the team looking after Alice. News of JJ's release was given, but she'd been out for 6 months, living and settled in a home life with Rosie. A slip by Alice starts a catalogue of events and sparks media attention. Interest again in the story of JJ. Where is this girl? What is she doing? What is she like? What does she look like? A customer in the cafe acting strangely. A new neighbour moved in asking questions. All tempered with Alice's paranoia about her situation. She is convinced that at some point her past is going to catch up with her, and in actual fact she can't ever let go of that past that she had. There are constant flashbacks to the terrible incident when Michelle, her friend, was murdered, to the absolutely appalling home life that JJ endured with a mother that really had no time for Alice at all. She led a very dubious life. I'll leave you to find out as what, but it did make a good impression on Alice, and the imprint on her of a normal home life was pretty tough. You know, she was an innocent young girl, and what she had to endure was terrible. Her innocence, in a sense, is what this book is about. It's at the heart of the story. The realisation of the terrible things going on around her are heartbreaking in every sense. All JJ wanted really was to be loved by her mother. Amidst all this, Alice is planning a weekend away with her boyfriend Frankie, going to stay with his family in their lovely home in Brighton. This is, you know, something she can look forward to. She hardly dared look forward to it, actually. But as Alice is packing, the new neighbour that had moved in, Sarah, suddenly announced that actually she was a journalist, and she knew that Alice was JJ. She tracked the story, and she said that lots of other papers were onto it, etc., etc. She wove a very good story for them, and she told them that if she wanted to tell the story from Alice or JJ's perspective, and it seemed like the better of two evils, to be honest, for Rosie and Alice to sit down and tell Sarah their story. But as always, the media doesn't always play by the rules, and in this case they certainly weren't going to. This was a really big story, and somebody wanted to have a break with it. So while Alice and Rosie give Sarah her interview, the authorities concoct a story to say that JJ has moved to Holland and is going to university there to try and ward off all this awful stuff that's going on. Whilst at Frankie's home, the story breaks. Sadly, it was leaked by one of the less scrupulous news reporters at the newspaper that Sarah worked at. Whether this was true or whether Sarah was as unscrupulous as the rest of them, well, that's for your imagination. But it sounds very familiar. We see this sort of stuff happening all the time. Alice has to tell Frankie a story and leave immediately. You can imagine, I'm sure, how he felt and how she felt. How would we have felt if we'd have been faced with that story at a moment's notice? I don't want to give too much away about the story because there's so much detail in it that I've got to be careful what I tell you. I don't want to spoil it in any way because it is an exciting and thrilling story. It's such a moving story, full of heartfelt heartbreak and also full of hope. Hope that Alice, JJ, now Katie, can find a way through with the help of loving, caring people around her. And there were plenty of those. This book has haunted me for years. I'm constantly recommending it, and I'm so glad to have had the opportunity to reread it. It poses an enormous number of questions and actually answers very few. We must make our own minds up, but surely children deserve a second chance, don't they? The book was shortlisted for the Carnegie Award in 2005. Sadly, it didn't win. I've had numerous conversations and chats with Anne about this over the years and with various of my bookie pals. But hey ho, maybe a better book won that year. It did, however, win the Book Trust Teenage Book Award as it was then in 2004. So it has had some deserved success. The book is powerful, emotive and thrilling. If you haven't read it, then I urge you to read it. It is such a fantastic read. Looking for JJ. You won't be disappointed. It is writing of the very highest level. Thank you very much. Enjoy.